14 emails, 4 different versions of the same proposal, scattered all over the place. A Teams chat that you've been avoiding for the last 3 days, and your manager just asked you what the status was from a project that was delayed last month. You may already know by now that Copilot can read your documents and access them within OneDrive, but what if I told you it could read your documents, emails, chat, and meeting notes all at the same time and generate a podcast for you that you can listen to on your commute? That's a Copilot notebook, and it's probably already sitting in your Microsoft 365 ecosystem. You just haven't used it yet. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Sheldon Swanson here, technologist, AI expert, currently focused in Microsoft AI technologies. See, the problem with Microsoft is sometimes they like to ship updates and new features in the dead of the night so that you just kind of log into work, see new icons, maybe you don't see new icons, and then all these menu items that you may know or not know what it is that they do. Well, today we're going to be covering one of those features, and it happens to be one of my favorite in Copilot, which is Copilot Notebooks. Copilot Notebooks are a way in which you can store all of your documents, your emails, your notes, chat records, meeting transcripts in one single place and actually ground Copilot on that information. Now, when I say ground, I mean that in a general chat, Copilot is responding with the general knowledge it was trained on, or if you give it access to the web, access to your OneDrive, essentially it's going to reply back with anything that it found on that particular topic, depending on what prompt it is that you actually put in there. With a notebook, we are providing it with specific content so that it only has access to that if we choose to turn on or off the actual web search feature, but we'll take a look at that here in just a minute. So in the next 15 minutes, we're going to be covering notebooks, and you will have a new digital tool, a place to store all of your documents, meetings, notes in a single place and have them AI enabled. So let's go ahead and move on over to Copilot, and I can show you exactly what it is that I'm talking about. All right, so when we launch Copilot over here, I'm going to go ahead and open up our Blade menu. And down here at the bottom, you will see this little section called Notebooks. So I'm going to go ahead and click that, which is going to list all of the notebooks that I currently have created. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new one just to show, and we'll call this a demo notebook. But you can see it's asking me to drag all of my content and my documents right here. So I'm going to go ahead and click Create. And this is exactly what a fresh notebook looks like for you. So I haven't given it any documents or anything to reference yet, but you can do that right over here by simply clicking Add. And it says it supports a whole bunch of different file types, from PowerPoints to Excel, PDF, you name it. I will say there's a little bit of a limitation in notebooks right now, but there are workarounds. For example, I can't directly grab an email from within Notebook. I can't have a meeting transcript pulled exactly within Notebook. I would have to go grab that transcript and pull it over here. Certain chats within Teams, you would have to copy and paste those into some type of document, but you can do that. You can take your emails, your transcripts, whatever chat you were having with someone, create a Word document, and then go ahead and just add it right here as a piece of information that you want to ground Copilot in. And then it gives you the option to create all of these pages, which is over here on the left. Doesn't really mean much right now because we have it empty, but I did want to show exactly what a brand new notebook looks like. Let's go ahead and transition over to a notebook I already have content filled into, Microsoft AI Solutions. So what I've done for this notebook in particular is I went to Microsoft's Document Hub, or learn.microsoft.com, and pulled the documentation for almost every Microsoft technology that has some type of AI functionality built into it, whether it was added later. It could be an Azure resource, it could be a low-code, no-code resource such as Copilot Studio. Essentially everything Microsoft AI, that documentation has been included in here, and I included the AI 102 certification guide. So it's kind of like I've built this notebook to be a central place where I can come and learn about Microsoft AI technologies. Now, what's cool about the chat portion of a notebook is you may recognize this icon right here, especially if you've seen my video on agents, because the analyst agent, or I'm sorry, the research agent is in here by default. So I can simply click this to open up an extensive analysis, and now I've essentially opened up the research agent, so I can shut off things like the web, my own emails and documents. Maybe I don't want to include anything from Engage. I'll leave Viva Learn on just because it has access to the Microsoft Learn library, so I'll go ahead and keep that in there, but we'll go ahead and deselect Power BI. Now I've essentially grounded it on just those documents and everything in Viva Learn. If I wanted to turn Viva Learn off, I could just go ahead and do that. It says at least one source needs to be selected, so I will go ahead and I'll just leave one of these Viva Learns on for right now. So now we have Viva Learn and then just the configuration or the documentation on those specific services. So it doesn't have access to general knowledge anymore. It doesn't even have access to the web. The only thing it has access to is Viva Learn and these documents. Now I'm not going to give it a prompt right now just because if you remember from the agents video, that research agent can take a long time, like it would be sitting here for 5-10 minutes going over things, but I wanted to showcase that the research agent is there if you would like to use it. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off, but then I can come in here and say, what are the different ways to create custom agents in Microsoft? And with that, it's grounded on all of the data I gave it by uploading all of those files, and it's going to go through and look through all those documents and then provide me a response based solely on those documents, meaning it's grounded in them. So while it goes and does that, I was wishing that it had the go ahead and skip ahead portion here, but as we're waiting on that, you can see it gave an overview. This was automatic. I didn't create this. AI created it for me, of all the documents that I put in here, and it gives a nice summary on the notebook, some of the key insights, and all of this was AI generated. Another feature or output of a notebook that you would want to use would be Pages. Now I'll be covering Copilot Pages in a completely separate video, but you can come in here and create pages. So I went ahead and created a page for this video on sharing agents, in which I had Copilot go through and give me all of the options in which an individual can publish or share an agent across all of Microsoft's essentially agent hosting platforms, except for AI Foundry, just because that's a pretty advanced topic and I didn't want to start. I don't really want to even mention more of the advanced topics in videos like this where they're kind of tailored to a general audience. Now, I think one of the things that gets a lot of people as far as notebooks is concerned, that they're like, ooh, I want to go ahead and start using that. I don't know if it still has it here, but if you come over to Quick Create, you can see there's a drop down over here. And if I click this drop down, it says Audio Overview. So I'll go ahead and click that. And this is giving you the option to generate custom audio, really audio that's never been heard before, from all of the content that you've put in the notebook. To put it simply, you're making a podcast based on all the content that you gave it. From a learning perspective, this was all grounded in Microsoft AI technologies. So I could create a nice little podcast that I could listen to on my way to work. If there's not a podcast out there on a specific topic that you would like to learn about, now you know you can come into Copilot, create yourself a notebook, add all of your content there, and then just spit it out as an audio file, and it gives you a lot of really cool options as well as customizing. So you may say, you know, I personally like to tell it to be lighthearted and make some jokes along the way. And of course, when you tell an AI engine to do that, it's really responsible AI. So it tends to spit out a lot of dad jokes, but it makes the podcast a little bit more interesting to listen to. I'm not going to generate the audio right now just because that is about a 15-minute process. Heck, our AI Copilot over here still isn't done answering our first prompt because it's still going through all of the content that I gave it. But it looks like it, when it found information on the bot framework, so that makes a lot of sense. Another really nice thing that you can do with these notebooks, besides create pages as an output and create audio as an output, as an audio overview, is I can invite people to this notebook so that they can I can invite people to this notebook so that I can collaborate with other people in my organization on a specific notebook. Now, I've used this a lot when I'm, for example, writing project outlines or statements of work, and I want to put all of the information on how my department conducts business and executes statements of work so that Copilot already knows about it. I found that one to be quite useful. Over here on the right, we can see Copilot has finally responded to us with the different ways in which we can create custom agents. Now, what I can do from here is I can just go all the way to the bottom, and I have the same options that I do within a regular Copilot chat. So I can export this to Word and then add it to the notebook as extra information. I can copy it over here, create a new page, and I will go ahead and call this page Creating Custom Agents. And then I will just paste everything that Copilot produced for me, and now I've added another page to this notebook, and that will be available within my Copilot library. One thing I do want to change real quick, I found this part quite annoying, is the way you change the name of your pages is you have to come up here in this tiny little thing and just rename it right there. But not too terrible of a deal. There we go. It says rename failed, but it looks like it took to me, so that is okay. And realistically, that's about all there is to Copilot notebooks. I find them really useful because I do like to organize all of my work and my thought processes into a single place. If I'm working on projects with other people, it is kind of nice for them to come collaborate with me on a specific notebook for a specific project. I really enjoy it. So I wanted to thank you all for coming and watching this video. I know it was a little bit of a shorter one today. If you'd like to see more videos like this, or you would like me to cover a specific topic, please let me know in the comment section below. Also, like and subscribe so that you catch every video the second I release them. After Copilot, I plan to get into a little bit more advanced solutions for AI, such as low-code, no-code solutions in Copilot Studio, for example. But then I'm also going to be branching off and creating an entirely different series for some topics that some of my students have been asking for. So thank you very much for staying along for the video. I hope to see you in the next one.